When you introduce yourself, do you talk more or do you listen? What type of objections you need to flush out in the beginning so that you know if the person is a real prospect or not? My name is Dietrich Willke, and I'm a sales, performance, and leadership coach with Southwestern Consulting. I created a series of videos that's going to really dive into the cycle of sales following the methodology of Southwestern, a 160-year-old company. We talked about pre-approach at the very beginning, our first step. Second step is approach, and I actually talked a little bit more into the approach on phone techniques. Now we are getting into the third step of the sales cycle, which is introduction. So if you're interested in this theme, please subscribe now so that you can look at the past videos and also the other ones. It's a series of 9 videos which will actually complete the cycle of sales. Introduction is very special for me because that's one thing that us as salespeople don't do. We talk a lot, we want to explain the best product, we want to tell people, and we want to jump right into the presentation. And people confuse introduction with presentation. So you want to say, I have the best product, I have the #1 product, I have the cheapest product, and then you kind of forgot. Do you know if the prospect actually wants your product? Is your service really going to benefit and solve the need of your prospect? How are you going to find that out? That's right. You need to introduce yourself properly. The introduction is not introduction of your product or service. Introduction means finding out what your prospect really wants. Interesting, right? Now, let me ask you, if you don't know how to close properly, that is the best step for you to be a master in order to increase your closing rates. And why do you ask that? Well, the reason why is because if you do the introduction the right way, and if you really find the need, and then you're able to compare it and pair it with what your product or service does, then you have an almost 99% chance that it's going to buy. So if you follow the introduction the right way, then obviously, if your product and service really provides for the need that you find out, then you should have a sale. Now, I'm going to very quickly talk about the 5 steps that are imperative for you to do a proper introduction. And I have them right down here. The first one is eliminate distractions. The second one is building rapport. The third step that needs to happen is uncover the need, then create a buying atmosphere, and answering objections in advance. Those 5 steps need to happen for you to do a proper introduction. And in our next video, I'm going to talk about one of those steps, which is one amazing tool, which is called CLASP. Not like clapping, CLASP. But here, let's really dive very quickly into those 5 steps. Distraction. Make sure that when you're introducing yourself, that you're in control, especially when you're face-to-face. When you're face-to-face, you need to make sure that the person that you're talking to is looking right at you, that there's no TV behind, that there's no window behind. You need to get that person to a place where he can only look at you. If we're covering building rapport, remember, approach, pre-approach, it takes 7 seconds for you to make right? Yes. Once you get there, you need to redo the rapport. You need to make sure you get a real connection. And that's when the proper use of names and past clients is paramount, extremely important. But we need to know how to do it properly. And we're not going to be able to talk about the properness of that in this video. But you need to understand that talking about names and past clients is extremely important. The third step is uncover the need. This is where you differentiate between a common salesperson and a top producer. That's right. You need to be able to ask questions, a lot of questions. You need to understand the client, your prospect, because it's through those questions that you're really going to find out if your product or if your service is going to really make a difference. Because if you don't find the pain, guess what? There's no sale. We follow through, and then we actually talk about something that most salespeople don't do: creating a buying atmosphere. And what does creating a buying atmosphere mean? It's making sure that the prospect is comfortable in saying no if he really does not need your product or service. And it sounds something like that. Look, what I'm going to be showing you, if you like that, that's great. If you don't, that's okay as well. You will not hurt my feelings if you say no. That is a buying atmosphere. It's making sure that the person is open to just listen to you and he can make a decision yes or no. That is creating a buying atmosphere. And lastly, and understand, is answering objection in advance. Now, this is really how important it is, and that's why I'm creating the next video using the class, because this will uncover that. If you are an expert in your market, you should know already some objections that your prospect probably will tell. You need to be able to answer those objections beforehand. And you know why? Psychology. If you are able to uncover your own objections, your own pitfalls before you present your product, then you become an expert. But if you don't do that, and if the prospect finds the objections and finds the mistakes, then you are not professional. That's it. So make sure you understand your market, you understand the person, make sure you ask a lot of questions, build a rapport, try to get the attention just to you. And when you do that, and if you uncover the real needs of your client, it's almost impossible for you not to make a sale. Next time, like I said before, we're going to be talking about CLASP. So if you're interested in knowing what CLASP actually means, stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week.